The Bears lost to the worst team in the Big 12. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody, if it is that. We are less than a day removed from Baylor football losing to West Virginia, falling to 3-3 overall, and now 1-2 in conference play. Cam, I said on Thursday before the game that if Baylor lost to West Virginia, it was press the red button, Mayday, Mayday mode. So this is the day after, the morning after, where I'm supposed to say, I was just kidding. There's still hope. Cam, I don't want to be like the bearer of the bad news or the dismal guy. What hope literally would there be? The Alamo Bowl? The Texas Bowl? What do you want?
Well, you're getting the reputation of being the dismal guy. And I'm going to out-dismal you here because you said in the open that Baylor lost to the worst team in the Big 12.
Right.
And I'm wondering, did the worst team in the Big 12 lose last night? That... Look, it's not the worst loss I've ever seen. I've seen lots of bad losses.
Can I cover you here too? There are people that are going to
someone's got to cover tonight.
Well, there are people that'll turn it off as soon as they hear you say, is Baylor the worst team in the Big 12? But name a team at a neutral site that Baylor would still be favored against. Maybe Iowa State, maybe Oklahoma. There is still a case where Baylor could be a bottom three, if not worst team in the Big 12. Now, does that speak to the parity of the league? Sure, but that's not as outlandish of a take as Baylor fans probably want to hear.
It's not. I wish it wasn't so. I wish it was so outlandish.
Yeah, we were all talking about how awful West Virginia is coming into this game, and Baylor lost the game. So,
what game do you look at on the schedule right now, and you feel good about? That's what happened. No. That is the panic button that we're talking about.
Yeah.
By losing this game last night, it's like, well, it's all wide open now.
Yeah.
And not in the sense of like anyone can win it. It's like they're not favored right now in all but maybe one or two games right now, the rest of the way.
Yeah, if Kansas loses to OU, they're favored in that one, and then maybe OU on the road. Outside of that, no, there's just not another game.
Yeah, and I was saying, like, this isn't the worst loss I've ever seen at Baylor. No way. But in terms of how it was lost, the team it was lost to, and the way this Baylor team started the year, what we thought this team was going to be. Because I've seen some bad losses, but those teams were supposed to be bad. You know, I saw something that said we made it through 2017, 2020. We could do this. It's like, that's true. Those teams were not supposed to be very good. So they just weren't. This was a top 10 team. Yeah, that just couldn't stop West Virginia. And I get the offense had some turnovers too. What was it, one punt tonight by West Virginia?
Yeah. They
could not stop them, which a couple other teams have had no problem with.
3 punts, by the way.
3 punts.
But
okay. Sorry. I got to give some credit. 3 punts. This was so horrible. And this team is just not put together a solid, like a really great 60 minutes against an FBS team.
Yeah.
And there's just always something that you're like, man, this has to improve or they're not going to get better. And it's something different every week.
Right. Because when the thing does improve, something else implodes.
And I tweeted it during the game. I was like, if they can't put it together in this game off a bye week against the worst team in the conference, when are they going to do it?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
When are they going to freaking do it? And I will admit, I glossed over some glaring comments last weekend. Dave Aranda's press conference. A month into the season, saying not only are his young guys still immature and that they need to work on that, but that his leaders are complacent. These guys who did win the Big 12 last year, who did win the Sugar Bowl last year, who kept coming back and fighting whenever their backs were against the wall. Those guys are the complacent ones.
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the first questions he's asked on Monday is, so Dave, you've said that your young guys don't really have it all put together and that your old guys are struggling to step up and take control of the team. So that wasn't fixed in a bye week, by the way. You had a whole 10 days to prepare for the worst team in the Big 12. You crapped away the game, and now you don't have any leaders. Your old guys can't get it together. Your young guys are immature. Your coaches are battling with ego issues. That was a comment that he made. Let's not pass that one by either. Mm-hmm. So then where's the hope? I'm not even trying to be pessimistic right now. That's literally what Dave Aranda said. So then what do you point to say, oh, this will get better? That's the
question. That's the question. The basic question is, how do you fix this? How does this get fixed this year? Genuinely. Because it's something new every week. There's a new problem every week.
I want to congratulate Jeff Grimes on being rehired, by the way. All the fired Jeff Grimes guys that were out there, you are fired now because Blake Shapen had 300 passing yards.
Still seeing it. I still saw it last night on social media, which
Baylor
is crazy.
Puts up 40 points in a game against West Virginia on the road.
Keeps
by the way.
pace with their backup quarterback. Who
can
sling it, by the way. I got to do a way cool today. He's got to be maybe the only one.
Right. And folks are like, oh, fire Jeff Grimes. Now, this week, is it fire Dave Aranda, fire Ron Roberts? The defense was pitiful.
The worst we've seen it probably in the Aranda era. I know we had that 45-3 against Oklahoma State, but half the team was out in that game, and it was the end of the season. This was just horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific.
I will be honest and say, too, that I am factoring in the fact that there was that Blake Shapen fumble six, scoop and score. Right. Whatever that was awful, terribly, terribly bad. And I saw a lot of people say, oh, young quarterback. Yeah, no. That's fine. 7 points.
Is it? How many games he started at this point? I'm not saying like, let's bench Blake in the future because of this play. There is some luck to it, and I'm not trying to pour him over some hot coals here because of that, but it's not really a young play. He just didn't make the right play.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I want to say too, I don't even hone in on
experienced enough not to make that play.
I don't want to hone in too much on even that play because I don't think that was the difference maker. People will say that the block PAT is different. I mean, that's a 9-point swing. That's 7 points from the scoop and score and the PAT block PAT. That's big
and
too.
7 points that it looked like you were going to score, by the way, on the Shapen fumble.
Offense is rolling.
Driving, they just had a big completion to Holmes.
But there's still, I think the defense is still squarely who you go to. Special teams is not good. That we knew that though. We've been knowing that one. It's not. Are you shocked? All right, sweet. Put it on special teams again. Kick them while they're down. But the defense, they had the stop on fourth down that I thought was impeccable. And you thought, okay, they put it together now. You're realizing, Cam, last year Big 12 championship, Blake Shapen gets hurt. What happens? The defense steps up. This week, Blake Shapen gets hurt. Kyron Drones comes in and plays well.
Yeah.
And the defense just kind of fell apart. You allowed West Virginia. Cam, let them score. There's a minute and a half left in this game. Do not be the hero. Do not tackle the guy at the 5-yard line so they can kick a chip shot 22-yard field goal. And the clock management to not call a timeout for eons, just letting it roll, knowing exactly what's going to happen. You buried yourself. That clock management, we didn't even talk about it enough on Twitter. We as in like the people that berate.
The royal we, yes.
But there was so much in that last 2 minutes that's just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing?
I don't know if it was Malcolm Butler maybe that ruined it for everybody, but yeah, that's a situation where you probably just let them score.
Which they're going to kick a field goal. This isn't we're up by 3 or we're up by 4.
Right. It's not the Big 12 championship where you're up by 5. They need to score a touchdown. You're not just going to let them score there. I'd probably take my chances there too. It's tied, and Casey Legg's going to nail that every time. So it's like you're really playing a prayer game if you're playing this out. And at the time, I think they had all 3 timeouts, if I'm not mistaken, on that big run. So if you let them score on the next play, you're getting the ball back with over a minute left and 3 timeouts.
And hear me out. By the way, West Virginia wanted to score. It was idiotic how hard they were trying to score on that drive.
Yeah.
Let the guy score on the long touchdown. You got a minute and a half to go, 3 timeouts, and Kyron Drones. Upside Fantasy. I'll tell you folks about Upside. This episode is actually brought to you all by Upside Fantasy, the easiest place to spice up college football. You can play Pick'em on Upside Fantasy. I've been doing Pick'em, and this week my Pick'em has been shot. Someone else is going to win my Pick'em pool this week because I picked Baylor, and I had a lot of my picks hinged on Baylor. Did have Blake Shapen over 250 pass yards, which was a weird call, and he got in the first half. So thank you to Underdog for that. Definitely go to Underdog, check it out. One of the best places to spice up college football, make it more fun. Just add a little luster to it. Easy to play, available in over 30 states. So you can pick even between 2 or 5 players, not just on your team, build this fantasy college football team too. So right now, sign up with promo code Locked On. One word, Locked On. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Double $100 deposit, get $100 free. UnderdogFantasy.com. Find the Underdog Fantasy app as well. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Locked On. One word. Get in on college football's pick'em action today. Cam, this, and I said it on Twitter, a couple people disagreed with that too, that this game is not on Blake Shapen's injury. No. I am of the belief that Blake Shapen getting hurt is not what lost Baylor this game. It happens sometimes, where that's the case. But I thought Kyron Drones showed enough to show that Drones wasn't the reason that Baylor lost.
Yeah, 3 scoring drives. One of them went for 0 yards, but still 3 scoring drives. I mean, he kept you in the game.
Right, and the pick was nullified. His interception
that was horrible.
Costing 0. It was a bad pick, really but it cost you 0 because JT Daniels said, "Oh, you can do that?"
Well,
not to be one-upped, he did the exact same thing.
Yeah, nullified in that sense, but you could have scored a touchdown there and taken the lead and won the game.
But you could have scored a touchdown when you got the ball immediately back with less time, taking the lead and won the game.
I mean, all in all, that definitely wasn't the reason they lost, and what a game he was having too. That obviously really sucked and was scary to see. I'm no doctor, but I'd be a little surprised if he plays the next game, even though it's 9 days away. Or 8 days away now. But
the way that he bounced off that turf, the back of his head bounced off the turf.
And especially what we saw with Tua. I just think you play that pretty safe. And quite honestly, and I know it's going to sound doom and gloom and pessimistic again, it's like, how about we weigh the kid's health over our minuscule chances of making it to the Big 12 championship game at this point? You know what I mean? We obviously want to win every game, but let's kind of make sure this kid's right. He's our future here. But yeah, that was awful to see. I mean, Shapen has had a history of sliding a little bit late. That was not the case in that one. And that was just awful. So hope he's okay.
You want to know something crazy?
Yeah, I do.
I was going to make the comment that we have talked about how a 2-loss Big 12 team can make the Big 12 championship all offseason. And that's still the case. I still think that's going to happen with the parity of the league. Baylor might be one of those teams, not that makes a Big 12 title, but instead that beats a team like a Texas or a Kansas State that goes on to play in the Big 12 championship. By the way, I'm just now realizing Kansas and Texas State are still in the Baylor still has to play a lot of really good teams. That's not good. That's not good.
Oh yeah, this was the
easy game.
Easiest game on paper for sure.
Yeah, this was the easy game.
You got your 2 easy ones are this one and OU both on the road, and Baylor lost.
Yeah. So then I started thinking too. So the 2-loss team that makes the Big 12 championship game probably didn't factor in a loss against West Virginia. One of the teams that makes it in probably didn't lose to West Virginia. So your odds of making the title game are pretty much 0. But then I also thought about this. Baylor last year, who they lose to in the regular season, Oklahoma State and TCU. You probably thought a 2-loss team's not going to make it, especially if they lost to TCU.
Right.
So Baylor, maybe they're just expediting the process. Let's get our Oklahoma State loss out of the way and our stupid loss out of the way and go win the rest of it. I said, look, I called it in the preseason that Baylor would lose on the road to West Virginia. I didn't call BYU. I didn't call Oklahoma State, but I said they would lose to West Virginia on the road as their stupid loss. They now have 3 stupid losses. So you have to have 0 stupid losses and 6 stupid wins at this point to have a prayer at a Big 12 title game, and you still might not make it in.
And you know what I think is funny is I'm picturing, so for those of you, the little peek behind the curtain, Drake was at my house last night. We watched the game together. Very cool. Very, very brotherly.
Way cool?
Yeah, way cool. I just picture yourself driving home after that and talking yourself into this. How can I be nice?
How can I not be doom and gloom?
Look, I mean, you're right. You're right. I say it's a minuscule chance. I think it's a minuscule chance as well, but it's a chance. It's a chance. And even when Baylor lost TCU last year, which was in November,
yes,
we were saying no way they're even making the championship game. No way.
Right.
2 losses. They've
Alamo
screwed themselves
Bowl
over. And now they're just doing it in mid-October. So there is that chance. And we've talked about before how wide open the Big 12 is. So you never know. But I think with that one, there was less. We had known more about the team later in the season. And it wasn't like, oh my God, like this still hasn't changed. What are these guys? Because I think it's a reasonable question right now of what is this team? It should be a good team. It's not right now.
Yes.
And like we keep saying, there's just a new problem every week. And so it's like, what is going to piece this together? Is it going to be a play or a win? Like, what is going to bring this whole thing together? And we didn't necessarily have that last November. We kind of knew what the team was.
Yeah.
But now it's like, man, we got a lot of games left, a lot of ranked games left. And I just don't know what you're going to get from this team week to week. My girlfriend's dad likes to bet on these games using Bet Online, of course, and asked me about this week's game. And I have gotten every bet wrong for him this year on Baylor. Baylor money line against BYU. I told him they weren't going to cover against Texas State. Baylor money line against Oklahoma State. None of them. None of them. And so I said, I cannot touch these Baylor Bears right now. I have no freaking idea. And it's a month and a half almost into the season. No idea. No idea. And I have no idea what they'll do next week against Kansas. Not a clue. That's scary.
It's not good. And I don't.
It's not great.
When you're looking at like what's the best case scenario at this point, the Texas Bowl, not even the Alamo Bowl, because the Alamo Bowl is reserved for the third best Big 12 team usually. If you're lucky, it's like a playoff and then a New Year's Six or 2 New Year's Six, and then the Alamo Bowl is the next best thing. So like that's the most you can look forward to right now is probably the Alamo Bowl. After that's the Texas Bowl. Baylor's outside looking in of a bowl game in general, much less the Texas. So
it's gonna be a scrap. I said it on Twitter. It's gonna be a scrap for that bowl game. I think they'll get there. I think they're a bowl team.
Who do they beat? Who do they beat?
I think this team just puts it together at some point. Honestly, if you ask me, I think they put it together too late to be in any kind of championship discussion, of course. Yes. But I think they put it together and they muscle out 3-4 wins. I do. Maybe that's the eternal optimist in me. I've been accused of that before.
Possibly Kansas is your option to.
Could be.
They
won't be favored in that game.
I don't know if they will. Unless Kansas loses to Oklahoma, Baylor will probably be favored. And because they're favoring OU, a bad OU team by 9. So Kansas loses.
Is wild. We've talked about that this week.
Baylor will be favored. So if Baylor beats Kansas, gets it back on track, which by the way, is not promised. Baylor could lose to Kansas, and I'd think, that was pretty much supposed to happen. The Bean kid's good. You beat Kansas maybe, and then you go to Texas Tech, who is a team you're better than. You are more athletic than. You are the better team. Probably now, who knows?
But have you seen that offense?
Yeah, and Joey McGuire, and I think that's almost a guaranteed loss at this point. And then you're also staring on the barrel of Oklahoma after that. But those are 3 winnable games. That is not. If you had next up Kansas State,
that's Texas, the beauty of this conference this year, Trey.
If you had Kansas State, Texas, and TCU as your next 3. See ya. It's been fun, guys. It was a great season. Luckily, you're in a stretch of games where things are a little more winnable than they could be down the stretch. I want to ask this, Cam. Can I ask you this? What if I told you Baylor football in a game where they played West Virginia last night had 590 yards of offense?
They finally won in Morgantown. Finally.
590. They gave up to JT Daniels-led West Virginia. 500 yards of offense. Awful. Just awful. 26 first downs, 72 plays for the Mountaineers. West Virginia got just mostly anything that they wanted.
72 plays and 9 points came not on offense.
74 plays. 74 plays. Sorry, I may have said that wrong. You want to know what's worse? I think it's worse. Baylor has a defense that has guys like Dylan Doyle, guys like Christian Morgan and Gabe Hall, who played, and Siaki Ika and Matt Jones and
Gabe Hall played tonight?
Yeah, he did.
Night?
Gabe Hall did play last night. Yeah.
Jackson Player play?
I don't remember seeing Player. I don't
think I saw him once.
Yeah.
That's
well,
damning.
Oh, no, he did. Yep. Yeah. Jackson Player played. So great. Now what? What do you want? Everyone played. What do you want? This defense, the names are there. Somebody asked me today, they're like, how are they in the preseason top 10? It makes sense to me. Dave Aranda's a really good defensive coach, despite the defense being awful. And there are not stars, but like really good football players. Really good football players. And how is this defense not good? It's like you took an all-pro defense in the NFL, put them out there, and they let up 40 points to just a mediocre offense to the Patriots, if you want that.
Oh, come on. I'm already down enough.
West Virginia's offense is the Patriots.
Oh.
Yes. Jared Goff goes against an all-star defense and throw. I mean, this is like, it's not registering in my brain why this team's not good.
And look, I'll say this. If you had taken one of our podcasts from August and had posed the question, is Baylor secondary going to be good this year? We probably both would have said, I don't know.
Probably not.
I don't know. But we would have said, is the quarterback going to have enough time to pass?
Oh, 100%.
And are they going to take away the run too much that these teams are one-dimensional? And they haven't done that. I am stunned at the ineffectiveness of this defensive line.
Was there a sack tonight at all?
No.
Was there a single sack?
And that's becoming commonplace.
Oh, my gosh. Baylor played JT Daniels and West Virginia. They didn't get a single sack.
How many TFLs?
You didn't have two guys with a half a sack tonight.
One.
4 tackles for loss.
Is the only one I can
4
remember.
tackles for loss tonight over the course of an entire game. And your defensive front is the best in the Big 12, or the best in the country.
Supposed to be.
I mean, like preseason rankings had the O-line and the D-line at the top of the top. And the offensive line did fine tonight. They were fine against a solid front from West Virginia.
Yeah, fine. They had that 3-man rush at the end of the game was getting to the quarterback, which is a little frustrating.
I don't even want to blame any of that really on Kyron Drones because the kid he's never played, and you're like, go out there and be Aaron Rodgers.
Too much for him.
30
seconds left, no timeouts. Yeah,
right. That's got to take. You got to be. And Drones is not a Heisman maybe he will be in the future, but I just don't see him being like. There are certain 5-star.
Are we going to take a minute to talk about him?
I thought he looked great. I really did. I thought
that kid can freaking sling it.
Hey,
and put it in a window.
Yeah,
man.
Dude, stop throwing the ball so hard, man. You're hurting the receiver's hands, guy. We got to calm it down a little bit.
I made the comment. DJ Lagway is not coming to Baylor because there's going to be 3 quarterbacks ahead of him.
Yeah, well,
that's why. It's not because of the interest from Alabama and Florida and LSU. It's because there's 3 quarterbacks ahead of him.
What setting? Oh, this is a big question.
Oh, great.
Grimes mentioned a lot in the offseason how he thought the Drones had grown up a lot and was really good despite the competition between Shapen and like they pretty clearly told Drones he was not in the starting quarterback conversation.
Yeah, and we did the podcast after Shapen was named. This is all the way back in late April, the early days of Locked On Baylor, and I said this says a lot about Kyron Drones because they think that they have a capable backup here who can come in a situation like this. Baylor has a propensity to have their quarterbacks get hurt. Like they clearly trust that he can come into a situation like this. Sorry, finish your question.
No, here's something wild. What is it then that is right now separating Kyron Drones from Blake Shapen?
From what we've seen, I mean, Kyron Drones looked really good. But so did Shapen. Like Shapen did look good. I'll use Kirk Ferentz' son's quote of what would be the benefit of taking the starter out.
Yeah.
I think there
Shapen's
might not be much separating them. They see practice every day. We don't, but Shapen's also looked pretty good since
I want a little more Drones. I'm with what Scotty said the other day, what Scotty Swingler said, and I want a little more Drones.
Do you want to see him like on the ground, like a bulldozer, like an 18-wheeler package?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Because I think
I can see that.
think he's earned it at this point too. His arm's solid, his legs are solid, the future's bright. I'm glad Kyron Drones stayed at Baylor. I'm glad he did.
And if you do go with that package, which would mainly be for runs, I mean, you can also dial something up, as we've seen. He can sling the ball. He can
sling it. He can throw the ball.
Not, like if you had Gary on this team as the back, Jerry Bohannon. Thank you, Noah Eagle. Golden
Is that
Boy.
Ian Eagle's son?
It is.
Never would know.
It is. Yeah, I'm sure he got there on his merit. Don't worry.
I'm going to end it like this, Cam.
Please.
That was the stupidest. I mean, stupidest double pass I think I've ever seen in my life.
We're going back to like 7-0 here in the 43-40 game.
That it wasn't done that bad. It was successfully twice against Baylor. Now there's a PI because it could have worked. But it's been successfully done twice against Baylor in moments that were huge, that the Baylor defense was expecting nothing but that. Baylor was like, oh, yeah? Yeah. Midway through the first quarter.
I've seen worse than that, man. That's not that bad. Oh, I probably wouldn't have dialed it up at that time.
And then Eagle, the announcer, I was behind the line of scrimmage too.
That was unbelievable.
Yards.
They went into a commentary. They were like,
I couldn't believe it.
It is. I'm
replay
like,
it.
8 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
Hey, you know what? Let me get a better look at this here. No,
I hated that. This game, Baylor.
That is an absolute like punch in the gut game. Like, this is like a rage quit sports game. If we didn't have to be at every home game, I might not even.
This is like a take your lumps. It's a take your lumps, and then you're like, well, now what do I do with them?
And it's one of those ones. I'm doing the in-game updates for Inside the Bears that I might, if I was just a fan, honestly, full disclosure, I probably would have turned it off for a couple minutes. Just to like kind of catch my breath, get my composure, because I would have been throwing stuff. Yeah, that was unbelievable. But I had guests at the house. So.
You did. I was one of them. I'm Drake Toll. That's Cameron Stewart. We both work for Inside the Bears. We're both sad, by the way. Happy Friday.
Sad.
Enjoy the fact that it's Friday. Today. China Spring Cougars, La Vega Pirates. If China Spring loses, that's it.
That's a bad weekend because Liverpool's going to lose.
This has been, thanks for making Locked On Baylor your first listen every day. Subscribe and all that jazz. Locked On Baylor.